Tonight's hearing exposed something important about the tax debate in America. While Republican Senator John Kennedy tried to frame progressive tax ideas as punishment for the wealthy, the economists he questioned pushed back with facts, clarity, and a reminder of why the United States has always believed that those with the greatest ability to contribute should support the system that made their success possible. What unfolded wasn't just a tense exchange, it was a lesson in how modern tax policy actually works, what the ultra-rich pay, and why progressivity strengthens capitalism instead of harming it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Yagan, am I saying your name right? Tell me, if you were king for a day and you could rewrite America's tax code, tell me the 3 changes you would make.
Number 1, I would equalize labor and capital tax burdens at the top. There are a couple ways of doing that. The billionaire minimum income tax is one that would move in that direction. I won't rehash those details. Senator Johnson actually talked about a corporate tax integration type.
What's number 2?
Sure. Number 2, part of closing the labor and capital disparity is closing the Gingrich-Edwards loophole. And number 3 is ending abuse of trusts. So the estate tax has been eviscerated. Many of those, you take assets that you know are worth a lot. Right now, they're purportedly worth a little because you haven't taken your company public. You put them into a trust, it explodes.
Do you support a wealth tax? Do you know what I mean by wealth tax?
I do know what you mean by wealth tax. The billionaire minimum income tax taxes income, and that, I think, is the way forward in that space.
Well, let me be a little more precise. Do you think appreciation of assets that are not sold, unrealized gain, should be taxed?
I think you should have to prepay tax on it that will eventually be due at sale, gift, or bequest.
What do you mean prepay the tax?
Sure. So if I have $5 billion of unrealized capital gains, I have $5 billion of taxable income, and I'm currently paying $1.5 billion on that. So that's a 15% overall tax rate.
Well, let's don't complicate this. I want to understand
Sure.
what you're saying. Let's suppose an American owns a piece of real estate they inherited from their father or their mother. And it was, when they inherited it, they got to step up in basis. It's worth $100,000. And all of a sudden, the interstate came through. And the property is now worth $1 million if they sell it. But they don't plan to sell it. They're going to leave it to the kids. Do you think that Americans should have to pay tax on the unrealized gain, the increase in value?
In general, no. At that level of wealth, for example, housing.
You think only wealthy people should?
At the very top, it's hard to tax,
But let me be sure I understand what you're saying. All right, let's suppose that's not just an average American. Let's suppose that's an American. What do you define as rich?
In the minimum income tax, it's $100 million of wealth or more.
Okay, so you think if you're really wealthy, you should have to pay a tax on your unrealized gain?
I think you should have to partially prepay if you're liquid, if you have liquidity to pay.
Do you think somebody? Why can't you economists answer questions? Should any American have to pay tax on unrealized gain? Why can't you just answer me?
Yes, there are some who should.
Who?
The ultra wealthy who have liquidity should prepay some tax.
What if they don't have liquidity?
They should not have to pay, and they will owe at sale, bequest, or gift.
So if you have cash, you ought to have to pay, but if you don't have to pay?
To prepay. I have in my testimony, there are examples of how this works so that you can preserve incentives to build a new company, take it public.
Okay.
While
What do you think, Dr. McBride? do you think we should start taxing unrealized gains? And what do you think that'll do to the economy?
Well, I have several concerns about the approach. The first of which is it's completely untested. It's never been tried in this country. We have more than 100 years of history with the income tax, and
Europe's tried it, haven't they?
no, they've tried wealth taxes.
Yeah.
Their experience
How'd that
with
turn
wealth
out?
taxes has
How did
been
that turn out?
bad. It
Why is
resulted
that?
in a lot of taxpayers exiting the country, for one thing. In France, for instance, other countries that have tried it. And you suddenly lose a big chunk of your tax base that you're trying to tax there. We have that option in this country as well. The result has been that most of those countries in Europe that have tried a wealth tax have rolled them back,
Yeah.
including France, because they were administratively challenging. The basic challenge is what you're describing, trying to value assets without real market transactions. So this is a valuation dispute. It means we get the IRS engaged in yet another challenge. They're currently doing this with the estate tax. Those estates that are subject to the estate tax, those valuation episodes can go years and years and years.
Can I have 30 more seconds?
Proceed.
Dr. Is it Clausing? Clausing?
Yes.
Yeah. Why do you and Dr. Yagan, why do y'all want to punish wealthy people?
I think I can speak for both of us that we're not interested in punishing anyone. We're interested
Well,
in
you're
having
interested
a
in taxing
fiscal
the hell out of them
system.
more than anybody else.
I think
Why,
the
what makes you
reforms
think?
that Professor
What makes you think that making tax policy on the basis of class or status makes sense?
I think it's a very American phenomena that throughout the history of the income tax, we have valued progressivity, and our current income tax does that. We used to rely on things like tariffs to raise revenue. Tariffs are regressive consumption taxes that disproportionately hurt the poor. We believe in this country that those with the greater ability to pay should pay more of the burden. And that's part of what a healthy capitalism does. It enables people to gain from things like trade and technological change and business innovation, and to contribute a little more to the fiscal system when they're very successful in doing so. And I think that that's a very legitimate way to structure the tax system.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
Why do you think so many wealthy people are leaving New York City?
New York City is, an incredible city of innovation, immigration, entrepreneurship.
Yeah, but why are so many wealthy people leaving?
I think there are big advantages to living near centers of entrepreneurial activity, and we see that on the West
You think they're leaving to be nearer to centers of entrepreneurial activity, do you?
Well, I don't think there are a lot of people, fleeing New York City. That New York City has.
Sure they are. There are thousands. I mean, there have been study after study after study. Why are so many wealthy people leaving New York City?
I think there's an enormous number of wealthy people who are in New York City and continue.
But why
to
are
be
so
very-
many leaving?
I can't speak to why particular people
I can
leave.
tell you
I
why.
know
It's
that-
taxes. You know that as well as I do. It's
I
taxes.
think if you look at the economic,
Some of it's crime, but most of it is taxes.
well,
People vote with their feet. The same reason that people are leaving California and moving to Austin.
If you look at California, it's one of the most successful economies in the world, and it continues to be so. It attracts people.
But they're
as
losing
well.
people.
I don't think it's in any danger of decline, nor is New York City. And these are very vibrant places.
I don't think we're going to
for
ever
fundamental
agree.
reasons. Yeah.
I don't think we're going to ever agree. But I appreciate the time of all three of you.
Thank you.
To be fair, there also are people moving the other way. There are people who move to New York. They just don't all leave from New York. It's a two-way street in and out of New York, and it's a two-way street between Austin and California. People leave Texas and go to California, and some of them do very well.
Well, that's true, Sheldon, but I can show you study after study after study, as you well know, and as the professor knows. It shows that people are leaving high-tax states and moving to low-tax states. All you have to do is
Well, they
look at
also leave,
all you have to do is look at the demographics. Pick the 9 states that have, say, a state income tax, and compare that, or that don't have a state income tax, and compare that to the states that do. It's called tax avoidance, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's perfectly legal.
People have different preferences. You know, if you look at where immigrants choose to live in the United States, they often go to those same places that you were talking about. You know, so I do think that, you know, there's movement in both directions.
Yeah, but here's my point. Here's what I think rational people do, and here's what I bet all three of you would do, and I bet Sheldon would do it because he's a smart guy. Okay, if he won the lottery tomorrow and won $10 million and paid his taxes and has $6 million left, he's going to at least consider, you are too, moving to Florida because
No, I
they don't have
wouldn't.
a state income tax.
For the record, no, I wouldn't. Never crossed my mind.
Well, most rational. Well, I don't mean you're irrational, Sheldon, you know that. But
It can be quite rational to not want to
But
live
when
in
you're
Florida right
liquid,
now.
when you're liquid, and you don't have to pay a 6% off the top versus 0%, it's a rational economic move, is it not?
I agree. It's rational. I mean, the thing about taxes that we're talking about is they're a cost or a price, and so claiming that this cost or price doesn't matter is essentially throwing out the very basic law of demand, the basic fundamental idea in economics. The prices matter. The costs matter.
See, this is what this always boils down to, and there's no way we'll ever agree, okay? But at least two of you believe that government, all things being equal, can spend a dollar better than people can. And that's your this is America. You can believe that.
For the record, that's not in their testimony.
I just don't agree with you. I think people can spend the dollar better, all things being equal. And all you have to do, if you know the history of government, you know that I'm right. But I don't expect you to agree with me because you're professors. Okay? Thanks, Sheldon.
Always entertaining. Senator Kennedy, thank you so much for being here.
The hearing opened with Senator John Kennedy pressing Dr. Yagan to list 3 reforms he would make to America's tax system. Dr. Yagan started with the most fundamental imbalance in the code, the unequal treatment of labor and capital income. In simple terms, a billionaire who earns money through investments often pays a lower rate than a nurse or a teacher earning a paycheck. Dr. Yagan emphasized that this inequality is not accidental. It's the result of loopholes and decades of preferential treatment that benefit only the top fraction of households. He explained that proposals like the billionaire minimum income tax aim to correct that imbalance by ensuring that America's wealthiest households, especially those with over $100 million in assets, pay something closer to the tax rates that ordinary working families pay every day. When Kennedy asked about the so-called Gingrich-Edwards loophole, Dr. Yagan referenced one of the most infamous tax workarounds used by high-income individuals to treat personal service income as corporate income. Fixing that loophole isn't about punishing anyone. It's about making sure the wealthiest play by the same rules as everyone else. He added that abusive trust structures have hollowed out the estate tax. People move assets into undervalued trusts, let them explode, and legally transfer vast fortunes to heirs tax-free. Democrats argue that this isn't innovation, it's manipulation of a system designed to privilege inherited wealth. When Senator Kennedy tried to corner Dr. Yagan on taxing unrealized gains, the Economist clarified the nuance. Ordinary Americans should not be taxed on the home they live in or the land they inherited. The proposals being discussed apply only to the ultra-wealthy, and even then, only when they have the liquidity to pay. Dr. Yagan emphasized repeatedly that the idea isn't to punish anyone. It's simply to ensure that billionaires cannot indefinitely defer taxes forever, simply because they choose not to sell assets. As Kennedy intensified his questioning, demanding simple yes or no answers to complex economic realities, Dr. Yagan finally distilled it to the core. Yes, some ultra-wealthy individuals should prepay taxes on massive unrealized gains if they have the liquidity to do so. Those who do not have liquidity should not pay until the asset is sold or transferred. It's targeted, limited, and focused solely on the ultra-rich. The second witness, Dr. McBride, acknowledged concerns about taxing unrealized gains, noting that wealth taxes in Europe were poorly designed and often broad-based. But the discussion here was not about European wealth taxes. It was about targeted, limited reforms aimed at America's wealthiest families. European wealth taxes failed not because progressive taxation is wrong, but because those policies were poorly structured and applied to middle-income savers rather than the ultra-rich. The U.S. proposals do not repeat those mistakes. When Kennedy shifted to the question of punishing wealthy people, Professor Clausing responded with a fundamental principle: America's tax system has always been progressive. The wealthy aren't punished. They contribute proportionally more because they benefit disproportionately from the economic system, infrastructure, and protections that enable their wealth. It's not class warfare. It's how capitalism sustains itself. She explained that relying on tariffs or heavy consumption taxes, ideas Republicans often praise, would hurt working families far more than the wealthy. Progressive taxation ensures that prosperity is shared without undermining entrepreneurial success. Then Kennedy pivoted to a political talking point about wealthy Americans leaving high-tax states like New York and California. The witnesses pushed back. People move for many reasons: jobs, family, culture, opportunity, education. High-tax states continue to attract immigrants, entrepreneurs, and innovation. California alone is the world's fifth-largest economy. New York remains a global financial capital. People leave, and people also arrive. Mobility is a two-way street. But Kennedy tried to frame it as a simple morality tale: taxes bad, low-tax states good. The witnesses reminded him that millions of people voluntarily choose these high-tax states because they offer world-leading opportunities, education, research, culture, and economic mobility. Finally, Kennedy claimed that Democrats believe government can spend money better than people can. But the witnesses never said that. Their argument was much simpler. The wealthiest Americans should contribute fairly because they benefit most from the social and economic infrastructure that makes their wealth possible. Public roads, public universities, scientific research, legal systems, financial regulation, these are the backbone of American prosperity. The economists made it clear: progressivity is not punishment, it is stability, it is fairness. And it is how America has built a thriving economy for more than a century.